possibility. All of these things are a probability. All of these things are relatively assured. What we don't know is what the future holds. But here's some vision into that. If this project goes any further than the next 3 years, then the next step would be to one of two things: continue along that line and excavate and sell this on a global basis, control the market, and move product to those entities that will pay the highest value for it. Control the amount of supply so that the demand stays high and the value stays high. Or do that and add a refinery to this mine. Because if we refine our own silica, doesn't mean that we take anything else away from anybody else. We can never refine as much as we can excavate. But if we add a refinery, what will happen? Well, we'll have to hire 800 to 1,000 people. Well, think about this. We're in the middle of nowhere, 2 to 3 hours away from any known or any relative civilization. We need to put in 1,000 people into the project to operate. Well, 1,000 people come with baggage, right? They come with their families. That's three people to a family. 3.1 is the global average. That means we're going to have 3,000 people in this moving into this area because they can't drive 2 to 3 hours to work. So what do we have to do first? Well, we have to put in housing. We have to put in some temporary housing. Then we have to build apartment complexes, and we have to put in some small houses. We start building larger houses. All right, so you build houses, but there's no construction company. There's no cement company. There's no water company. There's no, okay, you see what I'm saying? There's electricity. Everything else has to be created. That's it. Everything else has to be created. So in essence, what do? Well, if you have 3,000 people living in an area, what does it take to support 3,000 people? I mean, you got to have a gas station, right? That's the first thing. You got to have fuel to get back and forth to civilization. Once you've got fuel, then what else do you have to have? Well, you've got to have, of course, you have to have the housing. So you have to have property. You're going to have to put in water. You're going to have to put in electricity. You got to have sewer systems. You got to put in all that stuff. You got to have supermarkets. You got to have corner markets. You got to have grocery stores, hotels, banks, police, hospitals, schools, restaurants, housing. What happens when you bring 3 or 4,000 people into an industry in an area? A community evolves. If you, and that's the position that we're in. That's the exciting part of this whole thing. If you are in a position, think about it. Think about this. Think about a community around you that has 20, 30, 40,000 people in it, 50,000 people. If you could back up in time and know that that was going to be there before it was known that it was going to be there, what position would you take? Would you be the guy that owned all the land? Would you be the land baron? Would you be the guy that built the majority of the homes? Would you be the guy that, you follow me? I mean, there's so many things that can be done. Would you be the guy if you were in a position that could do all of it or have his finger in as much of it as possible? And that's where we're at. We are in a position to take advantage of all the iceberg. Last attribute, then I'm going to let you go. This mine evolved from a volcanic reaction centuries ago, right? Underneath this silica is a geothermal hot pocket that's rated highly probable for geothermal electricity, meaning that the temperature is in excess of 200 degrees centigrade, 390 degrees Fahrenheit. A geothermal electric plant where they've driven pylons down into the ground, they force water, creating steam, driving turbines, creating electricity, can fuel everything. In addition to that, we would be able to create more electricity than we can use, meaning that we can sell it back to the grid, meaning that all of this can be powered by our own energy. Think about it. It's amazing. The whole factory would be run. The whole mine would be run off of geothermal electricity. All the homes in the area that come in, all the businesses that come in would be using our own electricity. This could be set up as a community that owns shares in electric plants so that if you buy a piece of property, you have a share of the electricity and you get a revenue. I mean, there's so many opportunities here. It's astounding. It's exciting. And it gets more and more exciting as time goes by. Every time I hear something about it, it's like one more thing that I just can't. It's just amazing. But it's going to take 3 years to get to the point where any of those kind of things start to happen. So with that information, I want you to understand. I want you to take your time. I want you to pause. I want you to relax. I want you to feel comfortable with PTV. If you can't see that we're doing everything we can to create the ultimate high yield asset for your offshore financial portfolio, then you're not looking very hard. I mean, we've got 16, 17 moderators that are available around the clock to handle any question, any challenge. And some of you still come and send us emails. It doesn't make any sense to me, but I mean, you've got somebody that can answer your question right now. Why wait a day? If that's not good enough, go to the forum. If you don't like to be in the chat room, don't come to the chat room. Go to the forum. You can post a question. It'll generally be answered in an hour. That's the way the moderators work. Their goal is 30 minutes or less to answer your question. Go get that in another chat room. Doesn't happen. We've got the best support on the planet. Look at our new website. If you haven't seen our new website, you're missing out. It will be up sometime in the next less than a week. We hope in the next 3 days. That's the goal. It's by Friday. Believe me, there's bonuses in place for them to get that website up. Our new website is amazing. It's the best of the best. I haven't seen anything that I like better anywhere, but of course I helped in the creation process. It was partly my design too. So I enjoyed putting that together with our design team, Justin at Smack 3. We're doing everything that we can to provide everything that you want. We've added the e-currencies. We're adding offshore entities. We are going to continue to add as we see the necessity. What we'd like to do is invite you to join us, but do it when you feel comfortable. With that, I'm going to invite you to the chat room. We'd love to see you there. Come by and say hello. Introduce yourself. Let us get to know you. Get to know us. We'll see you there. Thanks for listening.